The hotel and the city of Galveston are both named for the American Revolutionary War hero Bernardo de Galvez. Curiously, though, he never actually visited the island.
Hi, I'm Desiree.
And I'm Mariah,
We're two sisters with a love of storytelling
and the paranormal, and you're listening to As
as the
the Crow
crow
Flies.
flies. Welcome back, everybody, to As the Crow Flies. We've got well, I would say a fun one today, but I don't know anything about it. So, I don't know what it is for you today. But before we dive into today's topic, we wanted to share something really exciting with you guys. A couple of episodes ago, we shared with you guys how we attended the Witches Brews Psychic and Holistic Fair event, and we had some really cool experiences. We met some really awesome vendors, and we had our tarot cards read by Tasha Shover. And we're really excited to share that we have been invited to be vendors of sorts at the Witches Brews next event. And it is the Witchy Women's Social that's taking place on May 9th at the Tasting Center at Main Street in Newport from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. There's going to be delicious food from the Flaky Crust and mocktails prepared by the Soul Cafe. So we hope that you guys will join us.
Yes, and if anything, if you're not, like super witchy, you just want like a night out, if the mocktails are as good as the Soul Cafe's coffees, you're in for a treat. I work from
Definitely.
home, but I have been leaving, venturing out and going to get a coffee a couple times a week just for a little bright spot in my day, and they're so delicious. The staff is so friendly. So for that alone, I would go. But I'm so excited that Amy invited us back and that we get to see so many awesome people again and hopefully have a good handful of people to interact with. And it's going to be great.
You can purchase tickets to come to this event, and you can purchase those tickets at the Witches Brew Shop, which is located in the Tasting Center on Main Street in Newport. And so Mariah and I were going to have an opportunity to meet some of you guys and to hear some of your stories, and we hope to incorporate it into one of our episodes in a fun way. So we hope to see you guys, and we were really excited. It was like a surreal moment that we were invited to that. I'm really excited to like reconnect with that community. I think it just felt so good the last time that we were there. And so it's just an honor to be invited to participate in something like that and get to meet new people, get to see familiar faces, and get to hear some stories from you guys. That's what we have been. We put a couple of pleas out there, and we've gotten some stories, but we're looking forward to getting a lot more and being able to share those. One of the things that Mariah and I love to do is we love to tell stories. And so in order to tell stories, we would like to have more than just our own stories.
Yes. Tell stories and learn. I feel like those are our curiosity gets the best of us. And at least we're not cats.
So you have something
I do.
equally as exciting for us this week.
Yes. Not quite so cheery throughout, but definitely very interesting. And I'm sure as any continued listeners, return listeners can tell by now, exciting to learn more about one of the places that we grew up in and around. So we are talking about Galveston, Texas, specifically the Grand Galvez Hotel. It has gone by many names, but that is one of the more often used, and it it has quite a bit of history behind it.
I'm really excited to hear what you've got for us today, Mariah, because we've covered a few Vermont things now, but Texas is so much of us as well. And I remember going to Galveston
Yeah.
as children, like that was our kind of vacation spot, a little and as we talked about Galveston being separate from Port Aransas, those were two separate places that
Yep.
we went. But I think my little kid brain just was like, oh, it's both the ocean, so it must be the same place.
Yeah.
Very different places. One of the things I think about the most when I think about Galveston is when we went there right after one of the hurricanes had hit there, and sadly just seeing so much devastation in that area. I remember seeing just like piles of rubble, and
Mhm.
our dad being like, yeah, that was a building that just got taken out by the hurricane. And we still went swimming, and because everything was kind of like all turned up from the
Yep.
hurricane, we were covered in sand and salt, and the bathhouses were
Indeed.
closed. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ugh.
Ugh.
I don't know why we went swimming, but and we were just covered in stuff, and the bathhouses were closed. Do you remember this?
Is this going where I think it's going?
Yeah. So
I,
we went across the street to a car wash
yep.
and sprayed each other with the hoses to get all of the stuff off of us, because we would always just stay in our van on the beach overnight. So we're
Mhm.
not going to stay in the van like this, like
Uh,
that. We're disgusting.
yeah. And like even if it wasn't like a cleanliness thing, just the like the sensory of that dry scaliness of the salt water like left on the skin and the sand stuck to you on top of that, like I would have lost my mind if I was left sandy and salty. One of the other memories I have of that is, speaking of us going to the coast frequently for like spring break, going to Galveston and then Port Aransas and Corpus Christi. Those two are actually close to each other.
Yeah.
I remember talking about how like churned up and dirty looking the water was in Galveston, and them saying that if we had gone to Corpus Christi, the island of Port Aransas acts as a buffer for all of that. And so Corpus Christi is on the mainland. You've got some water, and then Port Aransas, and so that would have like blocked the Corpus Christi coast from having as yucky of water. And we just didn't end up going down there that year. But I will never forget like the geography of that place for that reason of
Yeah.
they've got hurricanes pretty frequently. That plays a big part in what I'm about to talk about. And yeah, I wish we had known or taken that into consideration before we went down there that summer or that spring.
Yeah, we could have stayed in the hotel instead of the van.
Yeah, like go to a pool. We can still swim.
Yeah. Cleaner water.
Yeah. So now that we've introduced you to a little bit of our backstory, our personal backstory, we are going to take a brief ish history lesson of the area. So, Galveston itself was co founded by Michael Menard, Samuel May Williams, and Thomas F. McKinney in 1839. That also makes me wonder, there is a McKinney, Texas. So, I wonder if
Yeah.
he had a
I
hand in that.
I had the same thought, like McKinney. Okay, that sounds
Hmm,
familiar.
that one's closer to Irving.
Yes.
So, the city is co founded in 1839, a ways ago, almost 200 years ago. We're coming up to it. And around, well, I guess pre 1900, but after the city's been founded, it's important to kind of keep in your mind the city of Galveston is on an island right off the main coast of Texas, and it is only 9 feet above sea level. You're right at the sea. So the main city is not going to be much higher, of course. And in the early 1900s, they didn't have protection really from natural disasters. They were just kind of at the whim of the weather and being a coast city, especially in the Gulf of Mexico, they have quite a bit of weather, Louisiana, Texas, Florida.
As soon as you said it's only 9 feet above sea level, my mind automatically went to Louisiana and what happened in Hurricane Katrina because they're actually below sea level. But
Yeah,
like 9 feet is not that much. When we were talking about the hurricane that hit the East Coast that was making Betty and Barney nervous in the last episode, that had a storm surge over 10 feet.
yeah,
So, 9 feet above sea level really is not much protection, if any.
no. So keep that in mind. We're going now to September 8th, 1900. This is going to introduce a hurricane, what is known as the Great Storm. This hurricane pretty much decimates the city with storm surges of almost 16 feet. An estimated
Oh,
6 to 8,000 lives were lost in the storm, and they experienced approximately $30 million in damages in 1900.
oh my gosh.
Today, that would be over $115 million.
Wow. That's a lot of devastation. Just to hear number of lives lost to be in the thousands. Like
And the
I
storm was a
feel
single evening. It up to the afternoon was relatively quiet, and throughout the night it just plowed through the city, and the next morning everybody woke up to just nothing, if they woke up.
right. Well, you've got to think being in the 1900s, they probably had no idea. They probably just went
Yeah.
to bed.
Yeah, no, what can I see out on the horizon? Looks like a chill day.
Oh my
And
gosh, that's so sad.
although the US has endured much higher financial losses due to natural disasters since that time, the Great Storm continues to be, to this day, the worst natural disaster in US history in terms of deaths. We have
Yeah.
never had such a devastating loss of lives since then, and thankfully so. But that just goes to show how horrible this was.
In comparison, Hurricane Katrina had a death toll of 1,392 people. And you said this great storm was how many?
6 to 8,000.
6 to 8,000. That's wow. Damage wise, it was more expensive. Katrina was 125 billion.
Yeah, I was looking up like the financial loss, and there have been plenty more expensive storms, like into the 100, 200 billions. But we also have much more and much more advanced infrastructure and cars, buildings, roads, all of that compared to 1900. But
And just being advised. Like we
yes.
can evacuate. And sorry, I've got conflicting information. Wikipedia said 1,392, but more reputable, the National Weather Service said 1,833 fatalities and $108 billion in damage. Unadjusted $2,005.
Mhm.
Both were bad storms, but like in comparison, just the death toll alone is jarring for this storm.
And this was nearly a third of the residents of the city. So a third of your neighbors just gone overnight.
One in three people. That's awful.
So as a result of this, and of course previous storms, but definitely taking this great storm into consideration, in 1902 and then continued on through 1960, construction of what would become a 10.4-mile long, 17-foot tall seawall was started to protect the residents, to protect the buildings, the structures. I mean, even without loss of life, loss of your home and all of your belongings is still incredibly devastating.
Mhm.
And you're essentially building from the ground up in probably the most literal sense. And so to have that protection started was a huge point of significance for the city and for the residents. That also marks the period where Galveston and similar coast cities were starting to try to revitalize the tourism. They wanted people to come. I mean, islands everywhere. That's a big part of their economy is tourism and trying to get people there so you can have your residents have a better life. So they started putting a lot more effort into that. And about 9 years later is when we see the Grand Galvez Hotel open. So June 10th, 1911, the Grand Galvez opens, marking the completion of a $1 million project in $1,900. And it is touted as the first ever fireproof hotel. Thankfully, I don't have any stories about devastating fires, so I guess that worked.
Yeah, because we've seen so many of these in this time period, where people are trying to boost tourism and things like that and make their place more appealing to come visit. They they advertise these fireproof structures that inevitably burn down. So
Yep. Or they just don't give it a second thought and they push down any kind of hesitation about this might not be safe with how many dollars are we going to make. And I mean, that shit still happens, but we have a lot more protections in place to hopefully get around skeezy people not getting around those rules.
yeah.
So as time goes on, this revitalized tourism and the grandiose nature that they're trying to like advertise with the Grand Galvez brings this property to be known as the Queen of the Gulf. So very prominent, very important part of Galveston's history, aside from just, being haunted. So in 1915, the seawalls that were started in 1902 were put to the test as another hurricane hit the coast. Thankfully, very minimal damage occurred to the hotel itself and to the surrounding area. And compared to the 6 to 8,000 lives lost, they ended up with only 11 deaths resulting from that storm, which you'd love for that to be zero always, but compared to what they had just gone through, that is such a huge improvement.
Well, and you have to think of how scared those people must have been. In the room of three people, one of us is gone. Is that going to happen again? Am I going to be the last one?
And only
So
15 years before, so it's like people are reliving this. They could have been children that lost siblings and parents, grandparents even, and now are going through that trauma again as a teen or an adult or a parent, maybe going through that again and potentially fearing the loss of another child. I can't even imagine how freaked out I would be. I mean,
no, traumatizing just to live through it once, but then to have, for another potentially devastating storm to hit in the same lifetime.
yep. It's kind of like the millennial thing of like this is a once in a lifetime like historical tragedy.
How many lifetimes we live in here?
Yep. An eternity of lifetimes. And we're only in our 30s. So, moving on, thankfully, much fewer hurricane reports. Of course, they're happening, but not with the devastation and destruction that we've seen. We get to 1937, and Franklin Roosevelt is a frequent flyer at the Grand Galvez to the point where he is considering this his official summer White House. He's vacationing here, living it up on the coast and soaking in the sun, out on his yacht fishing. And then moving into World War II, it's actually kind of commandeered by the Coast Guard. And instead of guests and tourism, they are hosting military headquarters essentially, and they serve as housing for military staff during 1942 to 1944 throughout the
Dang.
war. Then, just to kind of reiterate, the significance that this hotel had and still has, Moving into 1979, they were added to the National Register of Historic Places list of significant landmarks. And in 2002, they become a member of the Historic Hotels of America. Continuing to today, they continue to be recognized, and people love staying there for the atmosphere. Now we have the allure of hauntings and kind of like ghost
Yeah.
huntings, or, people who may not believe, but they're trying to prove a point and say, this is nonsense.
Yeah.
It's just going to add to the attraction and the tourism of it all.
Really, those debunkers are just wannabe believers. Or sorry,
Look,
they are believers, but they're just like posing as non-believers, because why else? You're like, I'm gonna go and prove that this isn't real by staying in the haunted room. Like,
exactly.
I don't buy it.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah. Keep telling yourself that.
So, with that history in mind, I want to start with what I found as the earliest potential source of some of these haunting tales. So, I'm sure we all remember from just a couple minutes ago the Great Storm of 1900. During the storm, one of the probably most notable tragedies that occurred was at the St. Mary's Orphan Asylum. So, this was essentially an orphanage run by nuns. I give all props to teachers and daycare workers. I could not handle that many children day in and day out and keep my sanity, also keep them happy and healthy. I mean, I'm a mother, I can do it, but like to that extent,
Two is the limit.
yeah, we're not mean girling it here. The limit does not exist. Two. I used to think 2 to 4. Two.
Two.
God bless you, Nicole. She's got 3 for anyone who doesn't know.
I had so when we had the anesthesiologist for Audrey, the anesthesiologist happened to be Tyler's like pee-wee football coach. And he was like asking Tyler, he's like, what number kid is this? And Tyler's like, this is number 2. And he's like, you guys planning on having any more? And Tyler's like, no. And he goes, good. 3 is zone defense. That's pretty tough. 2, man to man. You're good.
Yep. Essentially, I've got one, you've got the other. We can debrief afterwards and just
Uh-huh.
take a deep breath together, and we don't have this random wild child attacking us when
That
under
was me. I was
guard.
the wild child, the third.
Yep. I'm sure it's fun for the children. Not so fun when you're being attacked. So these nuns, they're running the orphanage. They are taking care of countless, I believe it was reported about 90 children between 9 or 10 nuns. So that's still quite a bit of kids per nun.
10 to 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So this storm is coming in during the afternoon. People are starting to panic as it's getting darker and the day is going on and the storm is getting worse. They had 2 separate dormitories for the orphanage. So they had a boys' and a girls' dormitory. The boys being a bit older, the girls' dormitory was newer and so a bit more structurally sound. It seemed to be like the safest place to be. So they gathered all of the children and the nuns into the girls' dormitory. In another effort to try to keep track of that many children, the nuns began tethering the children with rope to their own waists.
Oh.
You don't want somebody to run off, and now you've got people putting themselves in danger looking for little
Mhm.
Timmy, like kids are kids. And
Mm.
regardless of how scary a situation is,
They don't know. They don't get it.
they don't get it, or it's so scary that the only thing that they know how to do is hide, try to get away from it the best way that they can figure out.
Yeah.
So they're tethering these children to themselves. Sister Catherine is kind of the main character in this event. So, along with the children that she's tethering to herself, she takes in the 2 smallest children of the orphanage.
Mm.
to make sure that nothing's going to happen. To the best of their ability, they're going to take care of these children. Despite every effort that they put in, the force of the boys' dormitory basically being ripped to shreds and becoming shrapnel started to wear down the walls of the girls' dormitory, eventually leading to the collapse of that building.
Oh,
As soon as that happened and they were at the whim of the elements, the storm surge practically sucked
oh,
everything, including the nuns and the children, from the building. Even if you were, individual, not tethered to anything, I can see a hard time
yeah.
surviving being sucked into the surge and,
Mhm.
you know, rolling and tumbling, being pounded into the bottom of the sea.
The
That is
roads.
scary. Yeah, the roads, the buildings that are being torn down, you don't know, all the rubble. So the building collapses, and by the next day,
Mm.
3 boys were found to have survived by clinging onto a tree out of the 9
90.
children and 9 to 10 nuns. 3 boys,
Oh,
the sole survivors. While they were found clinging to a tree, the rest of the city, including the orphanage, were found kind of scattered across the coast, being drowned or bludgeoned and half buried in the sand,
oh,
to the point that the survivors didn't know what else to do with the bodies. They were just overrun. That had
yeah.
They didn't have the capacity to deal with that many lost lives. And
No.
so eventually they ended up just burying people where they lay.
Yeah.
And the belief for the Grand Galvez is that Sister Catherine and her 2 littlest were found pretty much where the hotel stands now.
Oh,
And Sister Catherine is one of the apparitions
haunts.
or haunts of the hotel now.
I wonder if there's any record of like them exhuming their bodies to build the hotel or like coming across them or
From what I found, it seems like things were just built on top of. There
mm,
was no exhumation or anything. I mean, the hotel was built only 11 years after the storm. And so I can't imagine they would have much more capacity than they did in 1900 to then add on to their morgue and to their cemeteries with bodies that are essentially buried, just not in a traditional sense. So that was their final resting place. It is believed to now be where the Grand Galvez stands and plays a pretty significant role in what's seen now,
hmm.
along with the sightings of what is assumed to be Sister Catherine. There are sightings of a young girl playing with a red ball in kind of the lobby staircase area, as well as just general haunts, I guess, of children playing, laughing. Thankfully, very good spirited. None of this has seemed to be malicious or intentionally scary. Just kind of like, haunting in the traditional sense, but I guess emotionally haunting for me to know that those children lost their lives that day, and they're still having fun, trying to have fun, running through the hall like
Yeah.
with their peers.
Well, and one of the things that gets brought up a lot in Two Girls One Ghost is like when you have these residual haunts. I don't know if the stories you're going to tell are more residual or if they're more active, but if they're going to be trapped in any loop, I would rather it be a happy loop,
Yeah, instead
playing with the ball.
of having the day of the
Yeah.
storm, they're running through the halls, their spirits are just hanging out, they love being there. I hope they find so much joy in the people that come to hopefully see them now. Children, adults, just anybody that's finding joy and excitement in connecting with spirits in that way. I would hope that at the very least the children are, excited about that and look forward to it as much as the living guests look forward to that. So the next story is also inspiration for what the hotel holds now as the Ghost Bride Ball, if that gives you any indication of where we're going. This is the story of Audra, the lovelorn lady.
I
So,
also love that name, Audra.
mhm, it's
Like
very
that
pretty.
Audrey.
So, as we've seen, Galveston is no stranger to quite the storm. And around this time, it's believed to be about the mid 1950s. Audra is arriving for a stay at the hotel. She checks into room 501 and she is staying awaiting the arrival of her soon to be husband, who is out on a trip at sea. So she's excited, she's looking forward to everything. When he returns, they are expected to be married very shortly after. So it's my understanding that this was kind of her like pre ceremony getaway, a pre honeymoon, maybe, just kind of celebrating and hyping herself up, waiting for her soon to be husband. Each day of her stay, there was a lookout just above the eighth floor that she would climb to, and she would just kind of spend her day looking out at sea, checking the horizon, just longingly, but in a positive sense, looking, waiting for him to arrive, hoping to see the ship. A few days pass, and she's back up on her watch when she is approached, confronted with the news of a shipwreck. It's at this
Oh.
point that she is told there were no survivors. She is understandably heartbroken,
Oh
but
no, I think I know where this is going.
she tries to remain hopeful, probably out of desperation, honestly. And for the next couple of days, she continues to return to the turret and keeps an eye out and is thinking, maybe by some miracle he's safe. Maybe this was a different ship and, I'm getting bad intel. You never know. The 1900s of it all. I mean, even
Yeah.
now it's 1950 for her, 50s, but we don't have the instant communication of, oh, no, that's a hoax or that was a rumor gone awry and everything's fine. She's trying to stick it out and she just keeps going back to check. Finally, though, she's overcome by grief, and the only way that she sees out of this just agony and pain of living without her fiance is by taking her own life. So, with the unfortunate opportunity that the
Mm-hmm.
tourist provided, hung herself.
Oh, I that's not what I was thinking. Was thinking she jumped off.
Yeah, with that, fate plays its own cruel joke, and her fiance arrives at the hotel just a few days after her death. He had been rescued by a passing ship after the wreck, and as quickly as he could, through the storm and whatever means he had with the rescuing ship, got to the hotel to try and relieve her of that news,
Oh
to learn
no.
of her passing. So there is no continuation, unfortunately. I'm not sure the outcome of the fiance. However, Audra ended her life at the Grand Galvez, and many visitors now claim to see her still around the halls. And hopefully, I didn't see any mention of being reunited with her fiance, but I would hope, that she's not still stuck in that heartbreak.
When you said as fate would have it, I thought you were totally going to say that people see her and her would be husband, but oh, that's so sad. And that's such a 1900s of it all because nowadays he could have contacted her, told her he's okay, but what's she to do? She's left there sitting thinking that she has to continue this life without the person who she thought she was going to have for the rest of her life.
And
Oh,
not,
that's heartbreaking.
like the loss of any family member, partner especially, is going to just absolutely break you down. But she's going from this high of, we are just on the cusp of marriage. We are about to start our lives together. I'm sure she's got all of these thoughts in her head of like, I can't wait to do this. And, our future house, our future children, what are our lives going to look like? And just daydreaming as she's looking out to the horizon, to then be told and, have no other way really of knowing that that's not accurate, that her
Yeah.
fiance died in that storm. It's horrible, but I
Yeah.
I can see how much pain she would have been.
Oh, absolutely.
So, moving on from Audra and the Eternal Bride, there was one final story that I came across about a haunting that's kind of hidden in plain sight. So we know that the hotel and the city, of course, were named after Bernardo de Galvez. So found in the main lobby by the check-in area is this portrait of the namesake of the hotel. And there have been countless reports of just very uneasy feelings and having the sense of being followed by the portrait's eyes.
I was just gonna say, tell me the fucking eyes move. The
Yes,
portrait's eyes have to move.
that is what is told. Additionally, when people are trying to take pictures of this portrait, like I've been here, or like what are we going to catch?
Oh no, oh no, oh no.
Constantly they come across glares, distortions, blurs,
Orbs?
orbs, sometimes seen in the shape of a skull, other times
Ah,
just kind of amorphous blobs
nope, 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 nope.
that will appear across their final image. But the staff says manners could work in your favor because it's been told that asking permission before you take the picture often leads to a clear image, which is
Galvez says, no
cool.
unsolicited photos,
Yeah.
please.
No paparazzi. Okay.
Here I
So
am. Just say please.
really, just, ask nicely and fortune may fall upon you in the form of a clear picture of the namesake,
No skulls? Great. Love that.
right? Honestly, though, I feel like I would want the skull
Yeah.
picture more to just be like,
Yeah.
it happened.
Oh. Say,
And then just be like, okay, I'm never coming back. Thanks.
yeah. Bye.
Yep. So that is the last story about sources of hauntings. I didn't get too far into current encounters or, what people are experiencing today, but knowing that
That's me.
these stories lie in the history just makes for a very interesting mix up of what are people experiencing now.
So I wanted to do something a little bit differently for these encounter stories, if you will. So because it's a hotel, I decided to check the TripAdvisor reviews. And I found a couple of experiences. And because I deliberately chose to know this much, zero for those listening, about this story, I just like found these articles, but I didn't really deep read them. So we're going to experience them together. So I've got two TripAdvisor reviews and then a sort of adventure with me website that I'll share with you today.
Cool.
So this review comes from June 11th, 2014, from Dan D out of Houston, Texas. Shout out, Dan, if you're listening. You're probably not, but maybe you will be in the future. Someone's be like, yo, Dan, someone read your review from TripAdvisor.
The one Dan that's ever written a review on TripAdvisor, I'm sure.
Super uncommon name. You never know.
How is that spelled again?
It's actually Danathy.
Is it?
No.
Oh, well, people put like weird ass names sometimes. Just be silly. God,
was like, what two names could I combine?
That's like
Timothy and Daniel.
I call Gabe sometimes Gabathy, Gabu,
Yes.
Gabian.
Gabian. All right. So Dan, his review is titled, yeah, Danathy. His review is titled Ghostly Experience with three exclamation marks. And so his review says, this really happened this morning. As I was sleeping in room 525 last night on 6/9/14 at the Hotel Galvez, I awoke in the early morning asking myself what time was it and if I needed to get up for this morning's meetings. The room was pitch dark except for a slight stream of light coming through the curtains from the morning sun. Oh, so descriptive and such like a telltale sign that you're staying in a hotel. Um, I saw that it was only 6 a.m., so I told myself to go back to sleep for a little bit more time. As I was fading off to sleep, I heard several clicks, like someone approaching and walking down the left side of the king size bed on the side closest to the city view window. Along with those clicks, I had the feeling that there was an immense amount of energy in the room and the presence of someone or something. My first thought was that the sound sounded like flip flops. My arm was stretched out toward that side of the bed, laying across a row of pillows. I
No.
froze. Then I felt this energy bounce onto the bed, crawling toward me with every depression of the mattress. The
What?
pillow, yeah.
I'm just picturing the girl from The Ring coming out of the TV.
Me too. Me too.
So it's like, ugh, no, no.
Uh, yeah. The crawling and like just like the maybe it's the way I'm reading it, but like it seems like he's getting frantic here, and so it feels like the thing is like moving frantically towards
But
him.
also, then you're like rocking back and forth because the bed is depressing on each side. Like,
Oh
no, all of
no,
hard no.
no,
Maybe we
yeah,
should go.
yeah, yeah.
Or
Maybe
we should stay on
let's
the fifth
not.
floor.
The left side of my face felt pressure as if someone was leaning on it. It felt like eternity, but it lasted no more than 5 seconds. Then it stopped. What the hell was that? No one was in the room. I turned on all the lights and TV. Whatever it was, it had left. I found out from the manager later this morning that it was the woman who haunts the fifth floor of the Galvez Hotel. I am now a believer. If you want a ghostly encounter, this is the hotel. If you don't stay on the fifth floor or go somewhere else. Thanks, Dan.
I'm gonna take that advice to heart. Thank you so much. That
Good.
sounds like, I wonder if that's Audra.
Oh my gosh.
Her haunting a single man in his room. She was waiting for her husband, like,
She's like, about to get me some.
or yeah, oh God, I don't know. But she was on the fifth floor. 501 is notorious for sightings,
Mm-hmm.
and just the fifth floor in general. So
Yeah. This next review comes from 222S Mama. This review is from October 31st, 2018. And she gave 5 stars. Oh, by the way, Danathy only gave 3 stars. It had a lasting impact on him.
3 stars. If I was woken up that abruptly, I don't know if I could do any more than one. I think one's the minimum. And then I would be like, half star maybe. The bed was comfy.
Yeah, right. Until the ghost showed up.
Cool. So this next one is 5 stars?
Yes.
Okay.
222S Mama, 5 stars. Wonderful ghost getaway, relaxed and refreshed. My husband and I really enjoyed our stay at the Galvez. We stayed a total of 3 nights. We were able to take part in the first ghost investigation with paranormal experts, not to be confused with the ghost tour, which is ghost stories and history. That one is great as well, by the way. So they did a separate thing from the ghost tour. The ghost tour is super popular.
Yeah.
We arrived to a beautiful room, very clean, thanks to wonderful housekeeping staff. What? Shout out.
It's a hard job, man.
Yeah,
I
we
know.
Mariah has experienced housekeeping here in the ski resorts.
Yep.
Our
Start
mom as well.
in high school. I did it for summer for a little bit, and then moved on to condos and fancy houses and stove.
Yeah. So hard work, backbreaking work. So shout out to the housekeepers for keeping Hotel Galvez tip top. There's great air conditioning and beautiful historic vibes. We enjoyed dinner at the Galvez Bar and Grill. The food was amazing and the service was wonderful. We checked into the ghost investigation at 9:30 p.m. and met with the hotel's concierge, Melissa. She is wonderful. Hey girl, hey Melissa. Her passion for the Galvez, its history, and the ghosts just shines through. She loves what she does, and it makes your experience something much better. The investigation had various paranormal teams and lasted 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. That's some Mariah hours right there. I need to sleep.
But also 3 p.m. is like the witching hour.
Yeah. Oh, they should at least go to
Yeah.
4 if they're trying to get. I knew what you meant. 3 a.m. I
3
thought you
p.m.
said 3. Yeah. 3 p.m. No. Ugh.
Whoops.
These teams knew what they were doing and they were very respectful towards the ghosts and spirits. No provoking at all. Different rooms are investigated throughout the hotel. A snack time is provided. It was very well organized and ran pretty smooth for it being the first investigation. I was impressed. The hotel definitely has a different vibe late at night. I really enjoyed the event, and I hope the Galvez continues to have this. I know I'll definitely be going back if so. There was evidence of paranormal activities in photographs, and they weren't her photographs, but they were taken in her group. So she
Oh.
saw. Uh, and she was able to research an individual using the words the ghost box said in room 501. So on the ghost box, and so for those of you who don't know, the ghost box just cycles rapidly through different radio frequencies and words will come through. And a lot of investigators will use that as a means for entities and spirits to communicate. And sometimes it's pretty crazy what comes out of there. So through the ghost box this person experienced, they heard the words London and James. The following night, while in this is the review again. The
Mhm.
following night, while in my room at the Galvez, I felt urged to Google search London, James, Galveston. This led me to a biography paragraph of a surgeon named James E. Thompson, who lived from 1863 to 1927. He was born in England, and get this, he got his degree from the University of London. So the names London and James, and then when she searched London James Galveston, she found James E. Thompson, who got his degree from the University of London. So there's London, James, and then where it ties into Galveston,
Mhm.
he moved to Galveston in 1891 and became the first chairman and a professor of surgery at UTMB. I researched him my whole stay at the Galvez, probably influenced by the ghosts of Galvez. There is so much more I've learned about this gentleman, even found some of his medical journals, pictures, and an article of a medical convention taking place in 1914 at the Hotel Galvez. I
That's
got with Melissa ASAP to share the information with her that I had found. I feel this place has so many more stories to tell, and it truly is a place you'd want to go if you're interested in the paranormal and history. If the paranormal isn't your thing, you'll still enjoy this hotel. Very comfortable and relaxing.
that is a glowing review.
Yeah, and I just like the coincidence of it all, right? And if you listen to National Parks After Dark, there's no such things as coincidences. And so the fact that the words London and James came through the spirit box and that he, took part in a medical convention in 1914 in Hotel Galvez and he was a Galveston resident.
Mhm.
So the last encounter that I have to share with you comes from getoffthecouch.co. And it's a person's individual, like their own independently run website. So they've got a Houston bucket list, an achievable bucket list, new 101 things, sponsors. So it seems like a pretty neat website. This is from August 15th, 2013, and it's titled My Stay in the Haunted Room 501 of the Hotel Galvez in Galveston. So I think I mentioned back in December of 2012, I won a bucket list contest with the Houston's Visitor Center. In that package, I got a free 2-night stay at the Hotel Galvez, 6 passes to the St. Arnold's Brewery, 4 ticket vouchers to a Sugarland Skeeters game, I don't know who that is. And passes to the Houston Museum of Natural Science, including the Butterfly Center and the planetarium. I am finally getting to use some of these passes since the kids have been out of school and we've had a little time to do things. The first thing I used was a 2-night stay at the Hotel Galvez. Being the bucket lister I am, I didn't want to book just a regular old room. Nope, I asked to stay in the haunted room 501. If you aren't familiar with the story, Ghost Lab did an episode where they investigated the room we stayed in. Room 501 is supposedly haunted by the ghost of a woman named Audra. Back in the 50s, Audra stayed in that room while she was waiting for her betrothed to come back from sea. Every day she would look out of the window for him, go up to the 8th floor, and wait for him to come back. Sadly, she got a letter saying his ship had sunk and he was presumed dead. Heartbroken, Audra hung herself in, oh, this says in the bathroom of 501, and is said to have never really left. Even more unfortunate was that a few days after Audra took her own life, her fiance came back looking for her so they could be married. The telegram she'd gotten was wrong. His ship had not sunk, and he had been on his way back to her.
Not
So,
so it's not like he survived the
yeah, yeah. And, this is like a game of telephone, so who knows which one is the correct version, but
game of Telegram.
yes, a game of Morse code.
Yeah, the game of smoke signals.
The lady who helped me book my room said that there wasn't any way they could assure I would be in room 501, so I just had to wait to see if when we arrived, I had gotten it. Thankfully, when we got to the front desk, a very wonderful man named Jeremiah told me they had indeed secured the haunted room for me. I thanked him profusely, and he gave me a printed sheet of paper with Audra's story and some brochures about Galveston and the Galvez. Unfortunately, they did not currently have any EMF detectors at the time, but you can ask
They
for them.
yeah, I was gonna say they provide EMF detectors.
Yeah, you can ask for them at the concierge desk if you go.
That's really cool. I love hearing that like some hotels or places try to lean away from their
Yeah,
history,
but like
really embrace it and
they're like leaning into it.
fully actively encourage that behavior or whatever.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
But I downloaded an app on my iPhone that had a K2 meter and an EMF detector. I'm never sure if I trust those, but
Yeah, that feels kind of like pseudo like placebo-y.
yeah, yeah. We checked into our room and I began introducing myself to Audra and telling her why we were there and how much I'd love to have some contact with her. Oh, be nice to sweet Audra. I love that.
I know the portrait, Audra, just have some manners.
My husband left me alone in the room while he went to park the car and get our bags. I turned on the K2 app and told her she could talk to me if she wanted to. There wasn't anything going on with the K2, but soon my husband texted me and asked what was wrong with my phone. He said he had tried to call me, but someone else kept answering my phone,
What?
and his texts weren't going through. We never did figure out what was going on with that. I got a little weirded out and stepped into the hallway where I promptly locked myself out of the room.
Naturally.
Every time. When my husband Mason came back up, we went inside together and I turned the app back on. I asked Audra to tell me about herself, and the voice on the app said, bathroom, ow. She hung herself in the bathroom, freaky. Then it said, drawer. I went to the drawer and opened it. There were 3 books. I grabbed one and said, do you want me to read one of these books? The K2 said, have. So I sat down with the book I had in my hand and flipped through it. In it was a story about Audra.
Okay.
I read it out loud to my husband. When I got to the part about how her boyfriend had come back, the K2 said, almost rescued.
I want to cry.
Oh my God. Here I am doubting this app.
Maybe this is a plugged ad for the app that just looks like a review.
Could you imagine?
She gets commissions.
At the end, it says, psych,
Right.
gotcha. Oh my gosh. Weird. I flipped a few more pages in the book, and Mason decided to ask her something. He said, "What are you doing now, Audra?" She said, "Presidents."
Okay.
He
Marilyn
laughed.
Monroe.
He laughed and said, "Well, that doesn't make any sense."
Well,
Then
multiple
I
so like FDR was there, but multiple presidents notoriously went and enjoyed stays.
he laughed and said, "Well, that doesn't make any sense." Then I showed him how the page in the book I was reading was all about the famous people who had stayed at the Galvez.
Yes.
Oh
She's
my
just killing
God.
the presidents.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, "Presidents, bitch.
Yep.
We're hanging out now."
You wish you were me.
Oh
Mm.
my gosh.
I'm
Oh, and on the picture were pictures of former presidents. On the page, sorry, on the page she was on were
we need to
pictures of
oh,
former presidents. Huh?
what was this app?
Yeah, right? K2 and EMF. Sorry, K2 and EMF. Uh, then it said hurricane. Galveston was hit by the most deadly hurricane on record in 1900, and it was hit again by Hurricane Ike in 2008. That's the one we went after in 2008,
Yeah.
which destroyed much of the island. Other weird things the K2 meter said were veil, stressed, married, smile downstairs, and frightened.
Oh.
However, it also said a bunch of jibber jabber that made no sense.
Well, I mean,
Thank you for including that.
also though, like as touching as that was, smile downstairs. My like middle
The
school.
picture?
Oh
Oh,
no, my middle school brain
yeah.
was like.
So it says we double checked with the app though, and it did say if you have the sensitivity too high, you can get a lot of false readings. Maybe it was all a coincidence. Maybe some was real and some wasn't. Who knows? That night, we went out for a horse drawn carriage ride, shared a milkshake with 2 straws, and I complimented 20 people all in one day for my bucket list. We also went out late that night, and tossed some messages and bottles out to sea. Unfortunately, they were found the next morning washed up on the beach by a very nice retired teacher.
Oh my gosh,
We
got
didn't
all
go far.
just like what?
They didn't find the rip current.
You gotta chuck that thing out. Knock out a fish.
I wish I could say something really scary happened to us that night that removed all doubts as to Audra's existence, but we slept like babies. The only really scary moment was when I was taking a bath in the bathroom where Audra died and my husband turned the light off. What a bitch.
Like to intentionally scare her, or sometimes Nate or Jackson will walk out of the bathroom and turn it off, and I'm like, hey, and they, oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, he did this to actually scare her. She says, I
So
thought at
dumb.
any minute something would grab my shoulder, but instead it was just a lot of cussing and screaming by me at Mason.
Yep. I mean, husbands are good for it.
And then they end it with, even with the lack of spooky stuff, the Hotel Galvez is an amazing hotel. We were given a free voucher for Sunday brunch, and boy, was it glorious. Our waitress was constantly refilling our glasses of mimosas. Oh, bottomless mimosas. Sign me up.
Yes.
And the buffet had tons of different delicious food to choose from. Our bill would have been $88 if we hadn't had the voucher. And then they included some pictures. And so we will definitely link this on the show notes for you guys to check out pictures that they have. Oh, they do have a picture of Mr. Galvez himself.
Ooh.
And it says the eyes are said to follow you no matter where you go. You are said to need to ask his permission before you take a picture of this painting. I did not, but when the hotel staff told me I needed permission first, I apologized to Mr. Galvez's portrait for not having done so. Nothing bad happened to me.
That is very cool.
Yeah, some really cool stories.
And I am a strong believer also of like so many quote unquote coincidences feels too good to be true, I guess. I'm more apt to believe that something's actually happening as opposed
Yeah,
to like, I just got so lucky with this string
right.
of coincidi that
Yeah.
have followed me.
Yeah, I know that I said I doubted those apps, but that's a lot of coincidences for one situation.
The other thought is like, well, maybe the hotel's in on it and they're spiking the punch, so to speak, and putting false little like flags and whatever. But that feels like a lot of trouble to go through when you're already have so much other happenings and you don't necessarily
Mhm.
need the haunting of it all to draw people to your property.
Right. And I think it's really cool that people stay there for more than just a haunt, and they have really great experiences too. And I think like you mentioned at the beginning, it's not, none of these hauntings are like terrifying or malicious or malevolent. They're, there's a lot of devastation that happened here, and a lot of people are just kind of
Yeah,
stuck in the in between, and they choose this beautiful place to reside.
it just has a lot of very strong energy, and
Mhm.
those places supposedly are known to hold a lot of spiritual activity,
Mhm.
positive and negative. So it's really just relieving maybe
Yeah.
to hear that after such like horrible events that really couldn't have been avoided much, that anything that's kind of remaining there is okay, or
Yeah.
at least having a neutral time, if not a great time.
Yeah, I think, there's such high emotions tied to this area. Not necessarily the building, obviously with Audra's case, those are high emotions tied to the building, but just this part of Galveston
Yeah.
has such emotional energy, so much emotional energy, that a lot of these feelings, these emotions, this energy is kind of trapped in this space,
Hmm.
seems.
Yeah, I mean, even as I was doing like looking into the hotel specifically, there were several other stories of just the city in general having haunts here and there, like where the boys were found clinging to the tree is now
Yeah.
Walmart.
Oh.
And there was also from the day of the great storm another, I don't remember who or what exactly their role was, but they were somebody else who ended up like saving quite a few people before becoming sick as a result of like the hurricane.
Ingesting all that nastiness.
And
Yeah.
they became sick and died, and whatever building that is or was is said to be haunted by them, like in the
Mhm.
staircase and upper floors. So it just seems like a lot of everything everywhere in Galveston.
I believe it. There's just a lot of rich history here and a lot of stuff to learn about. So I'm really glad that you shared this with us. And, I hope Audra and all those sweet little babies can find peace in the afterlife.
Thank you for coming along with me. It was fun to just kind of relive some of our own memories, and in a sense, like I like to look into the etymology, like why are things the way they are, named the way they are, why why,
Yeah.
and knowing the history, knowing the the people who came before and what life was like then and how does that impact what's going on now is all just so fascinating. So I had a lot of fun looking into this and was very kind of tickled to see like the hotel reviews and
Yeah.
what people are experiencing now. It was so fun.
So if you have any experiences with Hotel Galvez or any haunted hotel, we would love to hear those experiences, and you can share them with us and maybe we will read them on the podcast.
Yes, you can find us at asthecrowfliespod.com for all of our forms and whatever you want to send to us.
Yes. And we hope to see some of you locals joining us at the Witchy Women's Social. Again, that is happening at the Tasting Center on Main Street in Newport, May 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. And you can purchase tickets for that event at the Witch's Brew, also located at the Tasting Center on Main Street in Newport. we're so excited to have been invited to that, and we look forward to seeing lots of new faces and lots of familiar faces.
Yes. And we will catch you in a fortnight.
See you on the flip side.
Meow.
Bye.
Reach out to us at asthecrowflies.pod@gmail.com with any stories you want to share.
I have arrived.
The party is here. Meow, meow, and they will have no pie.
Gross. Yucky.
My mouth is still wet.
Good.